Today, I'm going to talk about why the Nikon Z7II is the best landscape photography camera for me. Hello everybody, and welcome to the Summit Bid Gallery. So, eagle-eyed viewers of our YouTube channel over the last month and a half or 2 months may have noticed that I have been shooting with a different camera, and that is the Nikon Z7II. And I have kind of an interesting history with Nikon and the Nikon Z system. I've actually been using them since summer of 2019. I was shooting Sony fully and I kind of wanted a second body, and there was this interesting weird little adapter that you could put on the Nikon Z cameras that would allow you to mount your Sony lenses to it, and you'd even have autofocus back then. Since then, there's been firmware updates and stuff, and the adapter is not nearly as reliable as it was back then, but right then, I was able to use my Sony lenses on the Z cameras, and so I decided to give it a shot. And I shot all through summer 2019, clear through till summer 2020. I was using Nikon and Sony together. During that time, I actually got the 24-70 Z lens, and actually really love that lens. It's my favorite 24-70 I've ever used. So during that time, I really actually liked the Nikon Z cameras. They weren't as fleshed out as my Sony system. Like, I had a lot of lenses for my A7R III and then later the A7R4. But I liked the colors and the image quality, and I wound up shooting using my Z7 quite a lot, even if I never really considered it my A cam, so to speak. But last summer 2020, I really started getting kind of frustrated with my Sony system. I didn't like my zooms, and I had this huge bloated system of primes and zooms, and just like it wasn't really working for me as a landscape photographer for hiking, for climbing. So at first, what I was going to actually do was fully switch to the Nikon Z system. But right then, Canon was coming out with the R5, and I kind of got pulled into that system. I really wanted to try it out and see what it's like. I used to shoot Canon. I used to love Canon. I mean, I still do love Canon. The Canon R5 is an amazing camera. I made a whole video about it. You can check it out, link in the description. But, you know, as I started to use the R5, I started to, well, two things. One, that camera isn't as maybe tuned for landscape photography as it is for other purposes, especially for the price. And the other thing that started happening was I started missing my Nikon Z7. And there's a lot of reasons why. Like, when I was going through my images and my 2020 image review, is another video that I made, and kind of going through all those images, and I started to realize, wow, I really kind of like those Z7 images the best. And then, interestingly enough, I actually got a large print of Mount Rainier that we went to in summer 2019. I hung it up on the wall and looked at it, and I'm like, dang, I took that with my Z7, and I really like the way that looks. So I started missing the Z7, and then Nikon had coming out with a little bit of an update to the Z7 with the Z7II, and so I decided to give it a try again, just because I kind of missed it. Thinking about having it be my real system, right? The Nikon Z system be my real system, I really started to like the idea of it. So and have now since fully switched over to where the Nikon Z7II is my main camera, and then I'm actually shooting video. Like today, this is being shot with the Nikon Z50. So I'm going to talk to you about the 5 reasons I've come up with that this is the best landscape photography camera for me. And before I get into those reasons, I really want to emphasize the word landscape. If you're looking for a general purpose camera, this isn't the best at that. If you, like I spoke of in my R5 video, the R5 is a way better general purpose do everything camera. the Sony cameras are better do everything cameras. But for landscape photography, I actually think that this is the best, that pretty much the best you can get right now. So reason number 5 is the camera design itself. I have always loved the way that Nikon has designed and built their cameras. There's things about all of the systems that are good, but I feel like Nikon kind of has the most photographer first design. It almost feels like it's designed by photographers for photographers, if that makes any sense. So there's lots of little things on here. The 2 front buttons are really nice. It's super weather sealed, and I have put my Nikon Z cameras through a lot. That's actually one of the reasons that I started using it with the Sony system. The original Z7 was because it was just so bomb-proof, and it has held up to a lot of stuff. There's a couple of design things that I haven't been the biggest fan of. One is this car door is easy to bump open in your bag when you're getting the camera out, which actually can be a weather seal issue, but I've kind of learned how to grab it so that that doesn't happen. And unfortunately, Nikon didn't fix that with the Z7 II. Hopefully future cameras will have a little lock on the side. And then the play button, as far as design goes, is not in a great spot, but you can remap it to right here, which is what I do. So it's actually in a great spot to just review your shot real quick. But the rugged build quality and the overall design and handling and the way that it works from a tripod, like the back screen, you can change the settings and touch, and just I feel like the interface for tripod work, which is something I do so often with landscape photography, is the best with the Z7 II. The 4th reason is the Z lenses. And like I have raved about, if you've watched this channel a lot, you know that I've ranted a lot about Sony lenses. There's the primes, the G Master primes are great. I've never complained about those, but I've ranted about them. And I've raved about the RF lenses, and I'm going to rave about the Z lenses. In a lot of ways, maybe the most, just because they fulfill some needs for me that Canon and Sony have not. A very specific need, and that's with this lens right here, and this is the 24-200. This lens fills a very a unique role for me that is actually very important for moving light and fast in the mountains, for climbing trips, for even trail running trips. I will stick this on my Z7 and you can put it in your backpack. It's the lightest, fastest combo. This lens is actually really amazing. The image quality is absolutely incredible, and I think it's due a little bit to the sheer size of the Z mount. But every Z lens I have tried, and I've experimented with all of them, well, not all of them, but with a lot of them, the image quality is just unbelievable. Like this lens, I literally compared it up to the 2470 2.8 and the 7200 2.8, and the image difference was marginal. Like I literally, with the 2470, I really couldn't really tell a difference. It was just so subtle, any differences shooting them at the same aperture. And with the 7200, from 70 to like 135, they were so identical. Like I had Toby look at it and he couldn't tell the difference between the files just blindly. Once you zoom in a little more than that, I get a little bit better image quality with the 7200 2.8, which I actually have as well. I didn't keep the 2470, but I did keep the 7200. This lens is just bonkers sharp, and just the image quality from it is really, really nice. And it's not just sharpness with these Z lenses. They seem to have a character that is not present in the Sony and the Canon. They have the Sony and Canon have a clinical sharpness, which is great, but these lenses have a richness and a character to them that is kind of something that Nikon is a hallmark of Nikon, and something that I really enjoy. But being able to have one lens on my Z7 that I can take into the backcountry, it's changing the way that I shoot. It really is. And I'm super excited about these Z lenses, and they're one of the big reasons that I am now shooting with the Z7II. So the third reason is the autofocus. And if you follow cameras at all, that statement may shock you, that the autofocus is one of the reasons that I switched to the Z7II. And if you're looking for tracking, if you're looking for speed, if you're looking for anything like that, then autofocus is not for you. But that's not what I do. I'm a landscape photography shooter, and the single point autofocus system on the Z cameras is so good. It's bangerang accurate. Like, I've just not experienced accuracy with any other camera that I've used. And I've used, like I've said, Sony, Canon, Panasonic. I've tried all of them out. And when it comes to accuracy, the single point autofocus on the Z7II is absolutely incredible. And it also has pinpoint autofocus mode, which it's a tiny little point that you can just find your exact little spot that you want to have focus on and get it. And that's just been really, really great for a lot of the shots that I've gotten. So that accuracy, like, you know, it's maybe not the best wildlife photography camera and sports and anything like that. Like I said, as far as a general purpose camera, these Nikon Z cameras have a ways to go for doing everything. But for accuracy and ease of use, the autofocus, the single point autofocus in here, and you know, the continuous autofocus isn't bad. Like, you know, it makes it sound like it's unusable, and it's just not as revolutionary as to what Sony and Canon are doing right now. But compared to what we were doing even 2 years ago, like, you know, if you use the Sony A7R III, then the continuous autofocus on this is going to feel very similar. You know, maybe even a little bit better. So we're talking about the newest of the new. Sony and Canons are better, but you know, the single point is more accurate, I find, than with the Sony and Canon. Like, I don't feel like it misses hardly ever. I trust it more than I trust any other camera with focus. So, and it also focuses in low light, which is really great for astro shots. I can focus it on a star, and I'm going to throw up an astro shot that I took last summer with the original Z7, and you know, that was an autofocused shot on the stars, and just so that's really, really handy and nice to have. And the low light autofocus is even better with the Z7II. Now, it's slow, right? It's not a fast thing, but it's very accurate. And it's just incredible to be able to just like find a star and focus on it. Like, it's really, really fun and incredible. So reason number 2 of my top 5 reasons is kind of just the details that Nikon is included in this camera. And these aren't really things that you're gonna, you know, find in bullet points on the back of the box or on the buy now webpage at B&H. They're just like, they're little things that Nikon has done that has just made my life easier as a landscape photographer. And they're little things like shutter delay. So I can actually set different intervals of, like, when I click the shutter, it will delay, you know, 2 seconds or a half second, or, you know, various things like that. It's kind of like the timer that's on cameras, but way better and more integrated into the system with like custom modes and stuff. And that's been super, super handy. Some other things is extended shutter speed. So you can shoot up to 15 minutes with one shutter click, rather than having to do bulb mode after 30 seconds, which has been the standard for cameras forever. So you can do super long exposures just with your camera. You don't have to connect your phone or a wireless trigger or a wired trigger or anything like that in order to get super long exposures. That's been fantastic. It has with the custom modes on here, the U1, U2, and U3, I've never had a camera that allows you to customize so many things between those modes, including custom buttons. So like, if I have a custom button do something in one mode, I can switch it over to another one and have it do something totally different. So like, I have my U1 is set up for handheld landscapes, U2 is set up for tripod landscapes, and I can actually change what the custom buttons do. So it's that deep, those custom modes, which that's been really, really nice. And you know, another little detail is how quickly you can switch between stills and video. Like, it's just right here. And let me tell you, it's a completely different camera when you switch over to video mode. Like, everything that you had set up when you were last in video mode is still there waiting for you when you switch. So, you know, it's almost like another custom mode, or actually it's more like an entirely different camera, because all of these custom modes on the top actually reset to different things in video mode. So being able to just seamlessly switch between stills and video for a lot of our work, you know, in the field is super, super great. And those are just a few of the things. I'm gonna plan on making some tutorial videos on how I use the Z7 and kind of how I set it up and use some of these modes. So if you're interested in that, definitely leave a comment and ask questions, and I will include it in those videos too. So, but those are just a few of the little details that just kind of seem tuned for my work as a landscape photographer. So the number one reason is the files. And honestly, I didn't need the other reasons, the other 4 reasons to do it, because the Nikon Z files, there's just something magic about them. It's the dynamic range, the colors, the editability. They all just kind of combine into, it just, you know, it's my favorite files. Like, I love the way they look. I love the way they edit. And it's just been my favorite. And this is what I was missing when I switched to Canon, was just how rich these Z7 files, and I missed them, and I finally was like, this is, you know, this is my photography style. This is kind of what I want my shots to look at, are from these Nikon Z sensors. I know that Sony probably makes the sensors, but they do make them to Nikon specs. So, you know, people throw that out there like, well, Sony just makes it, so it's the same sensors as, you know, blah, blah, blah. When Sony manufactures sensors for clients, you know, they're to the spec of the client. So, you know, there's definitely differences between this and, like, say, the A7R III, which is a similar megapixel. It actually has a few more megapixels than that. But this is at 45, almost 46 megapixels, and the A7R III is 42, almost 43. So, you know, very close, but slightly different. But it just, these files are magic to me. And I love them. And, you know, like I said, it's kind of what I want my photography to look like going forward. All right, so just to kind of wrap all of this up with the Z7 and the Z7II, you know, Nikon as a brand is maybe not on top of the camera world right now. I think for a lot of photographers and videographers, the Nikon Z system is not the best choice right this second. You know, I think things are gonna change, but I think right this second, maybe not. But for me, as a landscape photographer who occasionally shoots other things, but I'm mainly a landscape photographer and I want my camera to kind of be tuned to that, I feel like the Z system and the Z7II for now is what I'm looking for. And, you know, I'm kind of excited to see where Nikon's going to go with some of their other cameras. You know, Toby and I are going to be making a video soon, because, you know, he shot video for a while on the Z6II, and we're going to make a video soon kind of talking about the Z system in general and the pros and cons of it, and kind of what we think about its future. But, you know, to kind of just wrap it up, I think this camera, if you're a landscape shooter, you should take a very, very serious look at, give it a rent, try it out, and, you know, don't pass judgment before you know, have actually gotten to use it, because this camera is, to me, greater than the sum of its parts, and is the best for the work that I'm doing right now. And then that combined with this very versatile 24-200, very versatile, very sharp, and then the, you know, the pro lenses, this is the 7200, is just, you know, bonkers, really, really good, is just all combining for, you know, the right fit for me. If you enjoyed this video, if you could hit that like button, that really helps us. Right now, YouTube is valuing likes more than it ever has before, so that's really helpful. And if you want more content about landscape photography, mountain photography, and videography, hit the subscribe button. That's also very helpful. I'm going to be making 2 more videos that are coming out either at the same time or very close to this. And one of them is going to be about kind of some of the things that I'm not so fond of in the Z system, and that I kind of hope that they change. And then I'm also going to be making a video about the Z7II versus the Z7I, and whether it's worth upgrading if you own a Z7, and if you are looking to buy right now, why you might want to consider the 2 over the 1. So with that, we'll see you on the next adventure.